The silent encounter. The stars shimmered above as Captain Ray's small trader ship descended onto the barren planet. The surface below was a vast stretch of red rock and jagged cliffs, a place forgotten by time. Ray wasn't here for sightseeing. He was here for business. He had heard rumors of rare minerals buried deep in these lands, and if the stories were true, he could make a fortune. His boots crunched against the dry ground as he stepped out of his ship, scanning the horizon. The air was thin but breathable. The planet was supposed to be uninhabited, yet something felt off. Then he saw it. A figure stood in the distance, half hidden behind a rock. At first, Ray thought it was just a shadow, but then the figure moved. It was tall and slender, covered in dark, metallic skin that shimmered under the twin moons. Its eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the light like polished glass. Ray stiffened. An alien. Aliens weren't unusual in the galaxy, but this one was different. It had no mouth, just smooth, flawless skin where lips should have been. Its long fingers twitched as if struggling to form words that would never come. Ray cautiously raised a hand. "Hey, can you understand me?" The alien tilted its head, watching him closely. Then, without warning, it stepped forward and raised a trembling hand, pointing behind Ray. Ray turned, but saw nothing. Just empty land. "What? What are you trying to say?" The alien shook its head violently, then pointed again, more desperately this time. Its glowing eyes were wide with fear. Ray's instincts screamed at him. Something was wrong. A low rumble vibrated through the ground. At first, Ray thought it was just the wind, but then he saw the dust rising in the distance. Something big was coming. The alien suddenly lunged forward, grabbing Ray's wrist. Its touch was cold, almost like metal. It pulled him, urging him to move. Ray hesitated. He didn't know this creature. Was it trying to warn him, or was it leading him into a trap? But before he could decide, the ground exploded behind him. A massive black machine burst from the earth, like a metal beast waking from its slumber. It stood on 4 sharp legs, its body covered in shifting plates of dark steel. Red lights flickered across its surface, scanning the land like hungry eyes searching for prey. Ray didn't need any more convincing. He ran. The alien ran beside him, its movements swift and graceful, as if it had spent its whole life fleeing from monsters like this. The machine let out a high-pitched shriek and began to chase them, its legs slamming into the ground like thunder. Ray's heart pounded. What the hell is that thing? The alien didn't answer. It couldn't. Instead, it grabbed Ray's arm again and pointed toward the cliffs ahead. There was a narrow cave entrance, barely visible in the darkness. Ray understood. The hiding spot. They sprinted toward the cave, the machine gaining ground fast. The sound of its legs hitting the ground was deafening. It was too fast. Ray pushed himself harder, feeling his legs burn. Just a little more. Almost there. The alien leaped into the cave first, disappearing into the shadows. Ray followed, diving inside just as the machine's metal claws swiped at his back. He hit the ground hard, rolling deeper into the cave. The machine stopped outside. Its red lights flickered, scanning the entrance. For a moment, Ray thought it would come inside. But then, with a frustrated shriek, it turned away and disappeared back into the darkness. Silence. Ray gasped for air, his chest heaving. He turned to the alien, who was watching him with those glowing eyes. "What the hell was that?" Ray demanded. The alien didn't respond. Instead, it raised its arm and pressed a hand against the cave wall. A faint blue light flickered beneath its skin, revealing strange symbols carved into the rock. Ray narrowed his eyes. He had seen symbols like these before, on ancient ruins, on lost artifacts. This cave was no ordinary hiding spot. And this alien, it wasn't just running from something. It was leading him to something that chased through the ruins. The silence inside the cave was heavy, but outside, the world was still shaking. Ray pressed his back against the cold stone, his breath ragged. His heart pounded like war drums in his chest. The alien stood beside him, its glowing eyes fixed on the cave entrance, waiting, listening. Then came the sound of metal. Outside, the monstrous machine shifted, its legs scraping against the rocky ground. Its red scanning lights swept over the entrance like a predator searching for its prey. Ray clenched his fists. If that thing decided to come inside, they were dead. Seconds passed, then a minute. Finally, the machine let out a low, distorted whine, almost like frustration, before its heavy steps began to fade. It was leaving. Ray exhaled, running a shaky hand through his hair. What the hell was that thing? The alien didn't respond. Of course, it couldn't. But instead of relaxing, it turned sharply, placing its palm against the cave wall again. The symbols on the stone pulsed with blue light, reacting to the alien's touch. Ray watched, confused. "What are you?" Before he could finish, the ground beneath them trembled. The rock shifted, and suddenly, the cave wall behind them split open like a door, revealing a dark passageway leading deeper underground. Ray took a step back. "Oh, you've got to be kidding me." The alien turned to him and motioned for him to follow. Ray hesitated. He didn't like this. He had spent years traveling the galaxy, making deals, trading goods, avoiding danger. He wasn't some hero looking for lost ruins and ancient secrets. He was a businessman. But at this moment, standing between a mysterious underground passage and a mechanical beast hunting them, he knew he had no choice. "Fine," he muttered, adjusting the blaster on his hip. "But if we die down there, I'm blaming you." The alien didn't react. It simply stepped inside the passageway, disappearing into the shadows. Ray sighed. This was a terrible idea. But he followed anyway. The descent into the ruins. The tunnel was dark, but as they moved deeper, soft blue lights blinked to life along the walls. The further they went, the more Ray began to notice something strange. The walls weren't just stone. They were carved, designed, built. This wasn't a natural cave. It was a structure. And judging by the glowing symbols covering every inch of the walls, it was ancient. Ray ran his fingers over the carvings. The patterns felt familiar, but he couldn't place them. "What is this place?" he murmured. The alien suddenly stopped. Its glowing eyes widened as it looked ahead. Ray followed its gaze, and his breath caught in his throat. They had entered a massive underground chamber, larger than any ship hangar he had ever seen. Enormous stone pillars stretched toward the ceiling, their surfaces etched with glowing blue runes. In the center of the room stood a massive circular structure, almost like a portal. It was inactive, covered in dust, untouched for centuries. But even in its silence, Ray could feel it. Power. Something ancient rested here. Something forgotten. The alien took slow, deliberate steps toward the structure. It reached out a trembling hand, as if touching something sacred. The moment its fingers met the stone, the symbols across its skin flashed brightly. The chamber rumbled. Ray stepped back. "Oh, what did you just do?" Before the alien could react, a loud metallic clang echoed through the tunnel behind them. Ray's stomach dropped. They weren't alone anymore. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the ruins. "Targts LOCATED." Ray spun around just in time to see dark figures emerging from the shadows. Not one, but 6 machines, smaller than the first, but just as deadly, their red eyes burning like fire. The first one raised its arm, revealing a charged energy weapon. Ray barely had time to curse before the air exploded with gunfire. Cliffhanger. Can Ray and the alien escape, or will they be trapped inside the ruins with nowhere to run? The forbidden secret. The ruins shook with the force of gunfire. Energy blasts tore through the ancient chamber, scorching stone pillars and sending debris crashing to the ground. Ray dived behind a fallen slab of rock, panting. The alien crouched beside him, its glowing eyes locked onto the attacking machines. "This just keeps getting better," Ray muttered, checking the charge on his blaster. 3 shots left. Great. The machines moved like hunters, their sleek black frames shifting as they advanced. Red eyes glowed in the darkness, scanning every movement. One of them raised its arm. Ray knew that pose. It was about to fire. He grabbed the alien's arm and pulled it down just as an energy blast sizzled through the air, barely missing them. Ray gritted his teeth. We can't stay here. Any bright ideas? The alien didn't speak, of course, but instead of looking at Ray, it turned its gaze toward the ancient portal at the center of the chamber. Ray followed its line of sight. The portal was still inactive, covered in dust, but something about it felt alive, almost like it was waiting. The alien suddenly lunged forward, sprinting toward the structure. Ray's eyes widened. What are you doing? That's not cover. The machines reacted instantly, their heads snapping toward the alien. They opened fire. Ray had no choice. He jumped up and ran, firing blindly at the machines to keep them distracted. His shots barely scratched their armor. The alien reached the portal first. It placed both hands on the glowing symbols, and the moment its fingers touched the stone, something shifted. A deep hum filled the chamber. The symbols across the portal lit up, not blue, but gold. A low vibration rippled through the floor as dust and ancient debris crumbled away from the structure. The energy in the air changed, thick like static before a storm. Ray felt it in his bones. The portal wasn't just turning on. It was remembering something. One of the machines lunged at the alien, its blade-like arm raised for a killing strike. And then it froze. Not just that one. All 6 machines stopped moving. Ray blinked, his blaster still aimed. The machines stood still, their weapons raised but inactive, their red eyes flickering. It was as if they were waiting. The alien slowly turned, stepping away from the portal. It stared at the frozen machines, then looked at Ray. For the first time, Ray saw understanding in those glowing eyes. It had been a test. The alien hadn't just activated the portal, it had triggered something deeper inside these ruins. Something older than the machines themselves. And Ray had a sinking feeling that whatever they had just awakened, it had been waiting for them. The voice from the past. The cold whisper filled the chamber, ancient and inhuman. It didn't come from the alien. It didn't come from the machines. It came from the portal. You are not the first to seek the truth. Ray stiffened. His translator device buzzed in his ear, trying to process the strange voice. But even without it, he understood. And you will not be the last. A shape appeared inside the portal, not a person, but a holographic figure, shifting like mist. It was tall, cloaked in darkness, with no visible face, only burning golden eyes. Ray's fingers tensed around his blaster. What the hell? The alien took a step closer, its breath hitching. It recognized the figure. A hologram turned its gaze toward Ray. He felt something cold crawl up his spine, like the weight of 1,000 years pressing down on him. You walk among a lost history, human, and you do not know your place in it. Ray frowned. Lost history? What are you talking about? The figure raised a hand, and suddenly, the chamber shifted. The walls became alive with light, moving like liquid metal, reshaping into scenes from a forgotten war. Ray saw massive ships burning in the skies, cities crumbling. An army of machines, much like the ones they had just fought, marching through the ruins of a once great civilization. And then, humans. Ray's blood turned cold. There were humans in the vision. Not aliens, not invaders. Humans. Fighting. Leading. Dying. You were here before, the voice said. And you were betrayed. The vision faded, leaving only silence. Ray turned to the alien. His throat was dry. He wanted to ask 1,000,000 questions, but only one came out. What the hell are we standing on? The alien reached out one more time, pressing its palm against the portal. And the portal whispered back. A graveyard. Escape into the unknown. The vision faded, leaving only an eerie silence. Ray stood frozen, his breath shallow. The holographic figure was gone, but its words still echoed in his mind. "You were here before, and you were betrayed." His gaze flickered toward the alien, who was still staring at the portal, its glowing eyes reflecting the golden symbols. The machines, once aggressive, remained motionless, as if waiting for something. Ray's fingers twitched over his blaster. He felt like he had stepped into the middle of a forgotten war, one that had never truly ended. But there was no time to process it, because at that moment, the entire ruin trembled. A deep mechanical roar thundered through the underground chamber. The stillness shattered as the machines rebooted, their red eyes flickering back to life. The alien snapped its head up. Ray's instincts kicked in. Run. The first machine lunged, its bladed arm slicing through the air where Ray had stood just a second ago. He ducked, fired twice. The shot sparked harmlessly off its armor. The alien moved faster, weaving between the attacking machines. It raised its hand, and the symbols on its skin pulsed again. For a brief moment, the machines hesitated, their bodies twitching as if caught between commands. Ray saw the chance. A way out. A narrow tunnel stretched beyond the portal chamber, leading deeper into the ruins. He had no idea where it led, but anything was better than staying here. "This way," Ray yelled, already sprinting. The alien hesitated, glancing once more at the ancient portal before finally turning to follow. Behind them, the machines recovered, and this time, they weren't hesitating. They charge. The underground escape. The tunnel twisted like the veins of a forgotten beast, the walls lined with faintly glowing markings. The air was damp, ancient, filled with the scent of metal and dust. Ray ran as fast as his legs allowed. Every breath a burning reminder that he wasn't built for this. The alien moved like a shadow, effortlessly silent, its glowing eyes flicking left and right, scanning for threats. Somewhere behind them, the machines were gaining. Ray's brain raced for a plan. "Tell me you've got a way out of here," he muttered, knowing full well the alien couldn't respond. Instead, the alien suddenly grabbed his wrist, cold fingers gripping tight, and pulled him toward the right tunnel wall. Ray stumbled, confused, but then the wall vanished. No, not vanished. It opened. A hidden doorway, triggered by the alien's touch. Ray barely had time to react before the alien shoved him inside, diving in right after him. The door sealed shut. Darkness swallowed them. Ray could still hear the machines outside, their metallic footsteps pausing, scanning. But the door had disappeared so seamlessly into the wall that it was as if it had never been there at all. Seconds passed. Then, the footsteps faded. The machines had lost them. Ray exhaled, running a hand through his sweat-drenched hair. "Remind me to thank you later." The alien, of course, said nothing. But it did something strange. It raised a single hand and pointed ahead, into the darkness. Ray followed its gesture, his stomach tightening. Something was there. Faint golden light flickered ahead, illuminating the tunnel's true destination. The air here was different, thicker, like standing at the edge of something vast and unseen. Ray took a slow step forward, then another. The tunnel opened into a massive underground expanse, stretching beyond what his eyes could fully take in, and in the very center, resting in the shadows like a sleeping titan. A ship. Not just any ship. A human ship. Ray's breath caught in his throat. This wasn't possible. There hadn't been humans on this planet for centuries. But this ship, it was here. Untouched, preserved, waiting. He turned to the alien, demanding answers. "What is this?" The alien stepped forward, placing its hand on the ship's dark hull. The golden symbols on its skin glowed brighter, responding to the ship, like two puzzle pieces finally reconnecting after ages apart. Then, the ship stirred. A soft hum vibrated through the ground. Lights flickered along the hull. The air charged with energy. the very air shifting as if waking from a dream. Ray took a step back, gripping his blaster out of instinct. The alien turned to him, its expression unreadable. And then, for the first time since they had met, it spoke. In a voice that was not fully human, not fully machine, but something else entirely. You were always meant to find this. The trader's choice. Ray had made thousands of deals in his life. He had traded stolen cargo under dying suns, smuggled rare minerals past planetary blockades, and once even bargained his way out of an execution on a pirate world. But standing here, in the belly of an ancient ship, facing an alien who had just spoken for the first time, he realized this wasn't a trade. This was a reckoning. The weight of the past. The alien's words still echoed in the chamber. You were always meant to find this. The ship hummed beneath their feet, its systems flickering back to life. The markings across its metallic hull were unmistakable, human design, but it was older than anything Ray had ever seen. This wasn't just a wreck. This was a secret buried for centuries. Ray turned to the alien, his jaw tight. What do you mean, meant to find this? The alien didn't answer. Instead, it lifted its hand, and for the first time, Ray noticed the scars, deep jagged lines that crisscrossed its metallic skin. Not from war, but from something older, something deliberate. Ray exhaled. You were never just running, were you? The alien held his gaze. No, it hadn't been running. It had been leading him here. Before Ray could push for more answers, the ship's holo interface flared to life. A projection flickered into existence, grainy, fragmented, but unmistakably human. A woman stood in the projection. Her uniform was worn, her expression grim. Ray's breath caught. She was looking directly at him. If you're seeing this, then it means the secret couldn't stay buried forever. Humanity was here before, and we paid the price for the truth. The message cut out, static crackling through the air, but it was enough. Ray's grip tightened on his blaster. This planet, the machines, the ruins, the war, it had all started with humans, and now it was ending with him. A deal on the table. A deep metallic clang shattered the silence. Ray spun, already knowing what he'd see. The enforcers had found them. 3 of them stood at the entrance, weapons raised. Their leader, a towering figure with red glowing optics, stepped forward. Unlike the mindless machines from before, this one spoke. Traitor, step away from the target. Ray's stomach tightened. He had been in bad situations before, but this was different. The enforcer continued. Hand over the fugitive, and you walk away. No harm, no pursuit. Ray felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This was his way out. He could trade the alien, take his ship, and leave this cursed planet behind. After all, he wasn't a hero. He wasn't some chosen warrior. He was a traitor, a survivor. And yet, he looked at the alien, who stood silent and still. It wasn't begging. It wasn't pleading for help. It was just watching, waiting to see who he really was. Ray swore under his breath. Then he did something the enforcers didn't expect. He raised his blaster and fired at them. The final betrayal. The echo of Ray's gunshot still lingered in the ship's chamber. The first enforcer staggered back, sparks flying from its shoulder where Ray's shot had struck. But it wasn't enough. Ray had spent his life talking, trading, surviving, not fighting. Now he was in a fight he couldn't win. The alien didn't move. It didn't flinch. It simply stood there, watching as if it already knew how this moment would end. And Ray realized it did. No way out. The enforcer leader stepped forward, its red optics burning through the dark. Foolish. A single motion, and the others moved in. Ray barely had time to fire before something struck him hard in the chest. His blaster flew from his hands as he crashed against the cold metal floor. Pain flared through his ribs, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He reached for his weapon, but a heavy boot pressed down on his wrist, crushing it into the floor. Humans never learn. Ray gritted his teeth. You talk too much. The enforcer didn't react. It simply turned to the alien. You know why we're here. Surrender, and the traitor lives. Ray's heart pounded. The alien didn't move, didn't speak. He had risked everything to save it, and now it was going to give itself up. Don't. Ray's voice was hoarse. We can. The alien stepped forward. Surrendering. No. No. No, no. Ray struggled against the enforcer's grip, but it was useless. You can't. The alien turned its glowing eyes on him. And then, for the second time, it spoke. This was always the path. Ray froze. What? The enforcers moved, locking a restraint onto the alien's wrists. The energy bands crackled, suppressing whatever power it had. The past does not belong to you, traitor, the enforcer leader said. You were never meant to be part of this story. The alien said nothing. It just watched Ray. And then the enforcers dragged it away. The fall. Ray didn't remember how long he lay there. The enforcers left him alive. They hadn't needed to kill him. They had taken the only thing that mattered. His breath came ragged, his vision swimming. The ship's humming had faded. The holograms had gone dark. As if the past itself had given up on him. He had lost. The traitor. The man who never took a bad deal. The man who always survived. For the first time, he had nothing left. Nothing. Except a whisper. A whisper that wasn't his own. It isn't over. Ray's eyes snapped open. The ship was still alive. And it was talking to him. The revelation that changed everything. The silence was heavy. Ray lay on the cold floor of the ancient ship, his body aching, his mind racing. The enforcers were gone. The alien was gone. And he had lost. The weight of failure pressed down on him like the collapsing ruins above. He had risked everything, made his choice, and it hadn't mattered. He should have walked away when he had the chance. And yet, something stirred beneath him. A low hum, a pulse, a heartbeat. The ship was alive. The final warning. Ray pushed himself up, his breathing heavy. The darkened holographic display in the center of the chamber flickered, glitching between static and golden light. Then, it stabilized. The same woman from before appeared again, her expression unchanged. But this time, she spoke directly to him. If you're hearing this, it means the cycle has begun again. Ray frowned. Cycle? The hologram continued, her voice urgent, as if she knew she didn't have much time. The truth was buried, not just on this world, but across the stars, a secret erased from history. And now you stand at the edge of it. The chamber shook. Ray braced himself, his pulse spiking. They don't just want the alien. They want what it carries. Something older than war, older than us. Ray clenched his jaw. What are you talking about? What does it have? The hologram's golden eyes locked onto his. A voice. Ray's stomach tightened. A voice that was never meant to be silenced. A memory that was never meant to be forgotten. And you. The projection glitched violently, her face distorting, as if something was trying to shut her down. You were never meant to survive this. The ship lurched. Ray staggered as the ancient machinery groaned. The walls trembling. Outside, through the ship's cracked viewport, he could see the enforcers' distant silhouettes moving through the ruins, taking the alien toward their waiting ships. It was being taken away. Just like before. Just like history repeating itself. The hologram's final words echoed in his skull. A voice that was never meant to be silenced. His fists clenched. He still had a choice. And this time, he wasn't going to lose. The awakening. The ship's interface flared to life. Lights blazed along the ancient panels, energy pulsing through the core. Ray had no idea what he was doing, but the ship did. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the console. A shock of electricity surged through his body. And suddenly, he understood. The alien had never been just a fugitive. It had been a key. And the ship. It was the lock. Ray felt something snap inside the vessel, like a code rewritten, a system rebooting after centuries of silence. Then, a deafening boom shook the ruins as a wave of golden energy erupted from the ship, surging into the sky. Every machine on the planet froze. The enforcers stopped mid-step. Their red optics flickered, their bodies locking in place. For the first time, they weren't the hunters. They were prey. Because the ship was awake now. And it remembered. Ray grinned, breathing hard. Now we're talking. He grabbed the controls. The ship rumbled beneath him, dust and debris shaking loose as ancient thrusters roared to life. The enforcers turned toward the sky. Too late. The ship launched forward, streaking across the ruins like a meteor. Ray gripped the controls, heart pounding. He had one shot. One chance to save the alien. One chance to finish what had started centuries ago. The final moment. The enforcers reached their ship, the alien bound in restraints. The transport's engines flared to life. Ray pushed everything into the thrusters. Hang on, you metal-faced bastards. The ship slammed into their blockade like a bolt of lightning. Metal shrieked. Energy shields flickered. Explosions tore through the enemy vessels. Ray barely controlled the descent, sliding the ship between wreckage, skidding to a stop just meters from the alien's captors. The dust settled. Silence. Then, Ray stepped out. Blaster raised. And this time, when he looked at the enforcers, he wasn't afraid. Because now, he knew the truth. And he wasn't leaving without it. Final line. You tried to erase history. Now it's coming back for you.